Well, I guess that's just going to be what it is. I have to upload this in 2 parts. Oh well, because I'm not editing it. And last time I tried to connect them and they just did not want to. So you got the fun vlog. Now we're doing the talking head scripture, spiritual, gospel, real life stuff. That really is probably what you're going through too. What I was trying to say, and as I didn't show you, I probably could have shown you, but is we have these little envelopes at the underneath our tree, and it is just, I felt impressed by reading a story in the Friend with my kids about a gift to Jesus. And of course, a lot of us do that, but I just am so grateful that the Spirit helps me understand there are certain things I really need to get down and figured out with my kids and my family, that we get right about these seasons and about how we approach the gospel. And that being, we are giving a gift to Jesus. Like that, it should be a thing. We should really be mindful that he gives us, we need to give to him. So I had them all write something down on a sticky note, and then they put it in an envelope just with a little bow on it. I didn't need to make like fancy little boxes. I just told myself, I'm gonna make this easy. Like what's most important is what they're writing on those sticky notes. So for me, my brother is actually, he just stayed with us for a little while, and it was really cool. And one reason why I started the rabbit colony, was getting the equipment and getting everything figured out. We did that. We started digging that, and we went shopping as he was here to help me. And he had told me his thing of giving a gift to Jesus is to help me with this rabbit colony. Now for me, as I was mentioning before, I want to give my best efforts of being a peacemaker to God. And that's hard. It really, once it went out into the ether, I feel like the adversary knew and has given me many, 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 many opportunities to be better at being a peacemaker and not have contention. And maybe it is for the rest of you. It is the number one thing I feel like most of us need to work on, is just how to avoid contention, how to make peace with our loved ones around us and anyone online, any strangers, how we could take this contempt out of our hearts. So for some reason, we just all have this contempt, it seems like, given by the adversary. I'll see things still, and I'll just feel like, why do they do that? And just have this judgmental attitude, and that is not where we should be. So one thing I read today, just today, this is how God works. He gives you little by little. So there was a man sick of palsy that was lying in his bed. And this is in Matthew 9, and there were many scribes and other people around that said that he is blasphemy. Why is he healing this guy? And he, saying, be of good cheer, thy sins are forgiven thee, and healing this man of palsy. And Jesus said, it says in Matthew 9, verse 4, and Jesus, knowing their thoughts, said, wherefore think ye evil in your hearts? Okay, that's where it hit me. When I have that vibe of contempt, if I have that vibe of animosity, that is Christ here telling me, these are the words to me. Why do you have that in your hearts? It need not be so. We should not be there. That's not how he would want us to be. And someday he will come again, and he will be our teacher, and he will be telling us these things to us in real person, not just through the scriptures here. Someday, and the prophet is talking about that so much. It is so close. I can just feel like the second coming is right there. That's why am I doing almost terrible at not having contention in my life, or having contention in my life. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of it. Christ, or the Satan, knows that when we're trying, he's going to just give us more. So that's what I feel like it's been. And it's been really hard when I feel like some people gaslight me, or they change the rules when I'm trying to communicate, or when I'm trying to do my best, that I just feel like they don't care. They just want to see the worst in me. But I don't need to play that game. And for you listening, if you know there are people in your life that you really struggle with, they are sent to you, these people, to make you someone that's going to be refined. It's going to rough out those edges. You are someone right now that might have those rough edges, but over time you're going to round out, and you're going to be you know, smooth like clay. God, he is the one making you. And so it's very hard, and I've had those real conversations with God on how can I get to that point where I can be less defensive. How can I get to that point where God is the one that I can trust, when I have this vision in my brain of what it looks like to be less contentious with these particular people in my life. And what God shows me is to turn the other cheek. And that's really hard to do because we have those traumas of the past that maybe you've been stepped on or hurt before, and you don't want to do that again. So we really try hard, and we become very skilled at being stubborn, at avoiding it, at being defensive, at making sure we are safe. But God is the one that makes us safe. I'm not saying we need to be doormats and be abused and whatever. We know when we can bow down what's really worth the fight. And sometimes it's better to be right. Or sometimes it's better to just be quiet and just give in than to be right. Okay? And it's just really hard to do. I wanted God just to take that out of me. Like, just take it. I can't do it. I need you to take that out from me so I can follow this prompting of you helping me be a peacemaker. Because I'm scared, and I don't want to be hurt, and I don't want to be led down those paths that I've had in the past in my mind. But I know I'm not being abused and tortured, and I'm just someone that might need to put that step forward first of, you know what, I'm going to say sorry, even if I'm not sorry, or I'm not the one that should be saying sorry. I'm just going to try to make this a place where there's humility and gentleness and kindness, and showing that we can be friends. We can mend bridges. I was watching I like to watch this YouTube channel called Cinema Therapy. It's a couple of these dads and that run this YouTube channel run on YouTube, and they're basically talking about therapy. One guy's a therapist, the other guy is a film director, and they're friends. They were friends since college, and just their bantering is so funny, and they're really great as far as like the vibe of the whole channel. And they go over these different videos or movies. They go over all sorts of Disney movies, they go over Marvel movies, they go over dramas and chick flicks and action movies, and of course some of the movies are rated R. And I wouldn't say this is like a rated G channel. I'd say it's like PG-13. Sometimes they swear, and I don't like that, but they're just so funny. And it's really I love some of the things they talk about, and the therapy side of it. I love therapy, and that therapy's helped me. I've thought about going into therapy. That's what I originally went into school for, and I have to go get my master's now if I want to do it. But anyway, so one guy talks about all the cinema stuff about it, and then the other guy talks about all the therapy stuff about it as far as some movies go. So one of the movies that they talked about recently, and I thought, okay, I want to watch something Christmassy, and it's not like they watch the whole movie with you. You're just watching like 20-30 minutes of them pulling out clips, and it was of Home Alone. And Home Alone is it honestly has a wonderful story in the sense of the moral about it all is really mending bridges and being willing to say sorry and to try again. And with Kevin, he was the scapegoat. He was the identified patient out of the whole family, and the family was rude to him. But he was not a walk in the park either. He was a little punk sometimes, and the mother was just so overwhelmed, and she's disassociating from him, and they leave him, and he decides that I don't need them anyway. Like, for such a applicable thing to us, that where we just want to be apathetic, push those people away, point at them what they have done. Also parents not stepping up and defending their son. There's the uncle that called him a little jerk, like right in front of the parents. They didn't say anything. So there are all those things and instances of what should be done and made right that weren't. And that Kevin also, he grew and learned, and he helped that one old man. And that old man talked about how he hadn't talked to his son in a long time. You know, they're in that church, and there's that "Somewhere in My Memory" song. And it's like, you know, 2-3 minutes of, or maybe 5 or 6 minutes of them talking, and it is such a sweet scene, like, of that man, and very real, that we've had these hurts, and this man has had a son that they decided to never want to talk to each other again. They had a fight at one point, and now it's been years and years and years, and they haven't talked. But the man says, I want to talk to him, I miss him, and wants to make that effort to see his son again, but he's scared and he's nervous, and so he wants to relieve that contention and start over. And Kevin, of course, gave him advice that he needed to do himself, and it comes for us full circle, of course, and he does mend with his family. And I feel the same way for me in my life, and those that I need to do better with, and not being reactive, just really being the kind of person that is firm and has that inner peace that I cannot be wavered. And how I react to things for the times that are coming, I think I really need that. I think you really need that. Like, how are we going to go through the last days with us being reactive and less resilient and flying off the handle and needing validation from others and all that we say and trying to be right? Like, I don't need that. I just need it with God. I need to be right by him, and him telling me to be right by him right now is to not have contention, to be a peacemaker. And knowing what kind of spirit I'm in, I think we can like analyze and make sure we communicate really well with these people and know what to do on paper. And of course, therapy helps. Those things help. But I've been told by God, telling me in my thoughts, that those are terrestrial, ideas. They're great. They're not even telestial. Those are great to them. Really make sure you communicate and you set expectations. But the main thing is, what is the spirit of it? Is your heart just in the right place? So it's just easy. You don't even need to understand all the in and outs of therapy. You don't even need to understand and take all the time and in and outs of trying to set expectations and communicating and making schedules for family life, and how that can really cause lots of rifts when there isn't communication, and even hurts because we read into it more than it is that we just go into it with that spirit of, I love this person, I also love me, and I love God. I want to make sure we're all safe and taken care of and happy, and what battles need to be picked. And even if they are picked, they're done in a way that is mild-mannered, with meekness and humility. And charity suffereth all, and is kind, and is not puffed up, and doesn't seek her own. And this takes a special kind of person like our Savior Jesus Christ that showed us the way, and I'm so grateful for him. So that was a really big thing for me going on in the past few weeks, and it's just continuing because I made it a goal. So I'm going to be tested. Next time I talk to you, I'm going to try to do this every Thursday now. I realized Wednesday is not working, so I didn't end up doing it. And so I'm switching to Thursday. But it is going to be probably something I have to work on through the week. And when we just give our whole hearts to God, broken, contrite spirit, and broken hearts, we can do it. He will make us new creature, and we'll be surprised. And then we come back to him and we tell him, thank you for that answered prayer. I'm so grateful you helped me through that. Even that small win where I buttoned my lip or that small win where I just listened, and I only said what was truth and constructive and nothing against the other person. Sometimes we just are grappling for anything, just to have that validation, like I said. So that's been really helpful, is not looking for the validation of others when there are these situations, and you might be right. You might be. I may or may not have been right recently. I think I was, but it didn't matter because I had a bad contentious spirit about it. So I'm right by God. I need to be right by him and have him validate me, and then to do my best to be as peacemaking as I can with those people, with that person, all the people that I interact with that I may have hard time with. And yeah, there's a whole thing. But another thing I failed to mention, another thing that I failed to mention is my son got stitches. He got stitches, and so it sounds bad. He got hit by a sledgehammer. But he was standing right here, like kind of behind his friend, and his friend had a sledgehammer, and he was like kind of looking down to see what he was doing. And his friend went in the upswing to go back down, and he hit him on the upswing, and it got him right here. And so I guess that's the story I want to share. Is I had this amazing experience, just beautiful small experience that's still amazing, of when it happened, and he came inside, and he came to the porch. He was just bawling. I was talking with a neighbor, and he was just bawling and freaking out, and there's blood all over his face. And of course, I didn't know what was going on. And within that 1 second of seeing that happen, something came over me, and I felt peaceful. I felt that God was giving me a clear mind so I can help him. It was important for me to be his rock at that point. And all I did, and it felt really beautiful because he's my 11-year-old, and he's not someone I can just always hug and love. But I took him right here, and I just pressed it because I didn't have anything. And of course, you need that compress. And he was just shaking. He couldn't know what to do. And we were going to get to a calmer spot until we could take the moment to look at him and assess what's really going on. And it was so beautiful, and I could tell there was something with the spirit and maybe an angel helping us out in that moment. As I said some things that came to my mind of like, it's going to be all okay, and he could sense it in my voice because it was given to me. It's not just me, given to me. That he then calmed down, and it was beautiful, and it was so bonding between us. The whole experience for just that simple thing, it was really powerful. Because it was actually even the second thing of the day that happened to him that was hard. That morning, he had to get 2 teeth pulled out. And that whole week or two before, we were telling him we're going to have to get it taken out. You need to either wiggle it or take it out. And he's like, I'm going to wiggle it. I will get it out. But it wasn't working out. I don't know if what was growing in was compressed it too much. And the dentist was saying you really need to get that out. It came to the point where I'm like, sorry, but we got to get it out. He was just so distraught, like it was going to hurt. And so that was in the morning, and of course, they came out, and it was okay. So it was a lot of it was very taxing on his mind for those couple weeks rather than it actually happening. But that's a lot of how our life is, right? So he'd already had a lot of that mental energy happening. But then later that day, that sledgehammer accident happened, and on the way to the hospital, I explained to him he's going to have a shot. I was already telling him, like, you're going to have a local anesthetic to your face in order to be able to handle the stitches. And that's going to hurt. And he just was losing it then too. And that was after I already comforted him, but we were now in the car and we were driving. And I just knew where to go, and it was going to be fine. But just for him to go through 3 huge things that day of getting his teeth pulled, knowing that he's getting a shot to his face with the lidocaine, and then thirdly, having to get the stitches and having the whole accident happen. So he went through quite a bit, and it really gave me a lot more patience and love for him. And knowing that my family relies on me, I need to teach them, but I am the one to start. And that's why with the contentious piece of not being as contentious, of really trying to do better, I am teaching my kids how to handle difficult scenarios now. And so that was really powerful. And I was really grateful. And even my friend that saw it, she's like, man, I'm thinking like you can handle anything. I'm like, no, it was totally God doing that for me. I'm not usually that way. I see a spider and I freeze, I freak out, whatever. It's my husband that's go action. So it felt good to know that me not being the firefighter like my husband, I can do that too. I can turn these things into a strength. And same with we can be peacemakers. We can turn them into a strength. And it'll be so much better if we can. Part of doing that, I think what will lead into some of that contention and just having some kind of bad feeling is we complain a lot as a people, right? I'm trying to work on that too, not complaining so much. I can tell that I have a lot going on for me. And I know I do. I can see that clearly. I feel very blessed in my life and what I have and what God has given me and the richness that I have. I feel rich. I have family. I have loved ones. I have a husband that loves my children, cares for them so much. I have children who are healthy. And that alone, like I could die happy, right? Knowing that my children are healthy. I can't imagine the week to week, month to month, year to year struggle people go through when they don't have healthy children. And that we have a society where we can have free commerce and we can be free of incoming armies and wars, and we are able to, my husband works and we're able to bring in money and make food, and I'm free to go as I please. And recently I got into watching, and this gives you a great perspective, is watching prison inmates. Not necessarily just watch what they have to do and live through, but what caught me onto it first was seeing something that this inmate was converted to Christianity, and how beautiful that story is, to think these people, what they've done and what situation they're even in, that they still are humble and want to have Jesus be the one to come heal them, because nothing else will. And in such a setting as prison, is how hard it would be to live that way. That's where their life is confined to now. I have nothing to complain about. I mean, I didn't choose it to do maybe something that they did, but I have so much expected of me. I understand that with God, and he's been clear with me. And I know maybe you've had that conversation with him. If you or anyone like me, you just have that sense of, I have been given so much, I need to give. That phrase, right? Thus shall my thanks be thanks indeed. If I give back, I have to. And where much is given, much is required. And I don't need to be complaining. There's way, way, way better things to use my time than complaining, and actually just putting our shoulder to the wheel. These hymns help. They all help us. So forgot to show it to you, or maybe I'll do it at the very end. I hiked that gun sight peak with my brother, and something cool about my brother coming, he is going to this thing called a Vipassana in Lava Hot Springs. And a Vipassana is where 10 days straight you are doing a meditation retreat, and there's no talking, and you're doing the techniques of meditation. You still eat, you still get to sleep, but you aren't talking with anyone. And it made me think more and more about my past of being into the New Age stuff, and how I know Christ is the one that's going to be the ultimate one that heals me. But for those that are on that path, they do have great sources of truth, that this inner peace comes with dealing with these things internally inside. And that's what my brother's hoping to do and hoping to find out, is to deal with these things inside internally. Of course, I'd hope for him to also bring Christ into the picture, but he's not ready for that right now. But at some point, every knee will bow, every tongue will confess that he is the Christ, because he is. He's the one. So that was really cool to know that that's a thing. Like, I probably would have done it at some point. Maybe not 10 days, because that's hard. That's a long time to be away from family. But it's definitely more of what I did in the past, and I'm just so grateful. That God showed me some other way, because that wasn't fulfilling me at the time that I was into that stuff. I was still doing and loving the gospel, but there's just so much more that it takes care of. Like the gospel, the atonement of Christ is what we're hoping to have heal us. And I think what Sister Runia said in the Christmas devotional, that there's a difference between cure and heal. So curing is just bringing it back to its normal state where it was before. And maybe that's a lot of what I feel like that's a lot of what New Age stuff may do, just bring you back to where you were and more in alignment but it doesn't, I feel like with the gospel, we have this whole other element, as she explained beautifully, just by the story. It's hard to explain, but just the story that Christ chose to keep the nail prints in his hands, that it's these experiences that we actually hold and look back to, that's actually what made us a new creature, something even better. We're healed because we're actually something even different than we were before, better. And with Christ being that first one to do that and show that to us by keeping the nail prints in his hands and feet inside, because we were bought a price by him, that I can't overcome these things. I can't do it, and I have before, and I know he will do it for you too. And the Christmas season is great for that, right? And I fasted in gratitude, showing that I do feel like I have a lot given to me. What better way than to actually fast in gratitude? We don't really do that very much, right? So I did that this last week, and I started, I had feelings with God that I wanted to do better with my study, with myself, and with my kids. So he told me a couple things. I felt like maybe it will help you. I don't know if you're trying to navigate that and search it. I'm just finding, I'll start out with my family. I'm finding I'm not getting enough done with teaching them by just doing it one time a day, actually, because their attention span is fleeting, and we're busy. So that it used to be we would have scripture study during breakfast for 10 minutes. And so we are still doing that. That I count as our scripture study. I'd like to build up on that, but I'm finding it to be difficult. So I'm going to do that, because I'm going to keep with that, because I'm coupling it with, because I believe we should have our kids be doing their own study and doing their own prayers and prompting them to do that. So that's what I'm gonna have to do after this, is now that they're back from school and everything, that I will be the mother, the spiritual leader, to help them do their own study. And with little kids, like my youngest is 6, she can't do as much, and she can by looking at the pictures and reading a little bit and watching maybe a little video about something. But I want her to get a little more into scriptures, because it's over time that they will learn to love the scriptures if I have them start now. And I just know that will be part of the whole idea of family scripture study. So give me Kleenex. You made me cry. But that's what I feel like God expects me as of now, little by little. But what was interesting is that he told me first to scratch, or at least I felt like I needed just to scratch that morning one, not be such in a rush, and just do it after school, do a longer one after school, everyone together. Really, we could sit down and read something and have it be something that is not in a rush. But I kind of missed having something in the morning.